I'm in Richmond and I'm about to hit a coffee shop, but I'm going to put something stupid on the record. The biggest question in physics at the moment, the biggest challenge, the biggest impossibility is, for anyone who cares, which is nobody, is how to unify gravity as a force with all the other forces that are known. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Okay, now, I've got a solution, but the greatest minds in the world are working on this, and this is a rare moment where I've come up with something myself that I haven't previously heard on a podcast or read in a book or whatever. Now, it's bound to be stupid. Because I haven't heard it anywhere. But just for the record, in case it's right, I'll get a Nobel Prize out of this. When you fire an electron from one side of the room to the other, this is the thought I've had, the first original thought I've ever had. There's no, we don't think of it in modern science as existing in between the 2 points. So you fire an electron from point A, and then it hits a detector at the other side of the room at point B. But in between, because we can't measure that, and if you can't measure it, it doesn't exist in science. Science is all about measuring. So if you fire an electron at a detector, all right, it was at the gun, and it hit the detector. But you can't measure it in between, because if you do, that becomes the new B. You fired it from A to B, but if you put the detector in the middle of the room, and so that you know that it existed in the middle of the room, you haven't solved your problem, because you've just moved the detector. You just put another detector in there, you've got a new B. You've still fired it from A to B. You don't know if it existed in between. And you can't even infer that it existed in between, as it turns out. There's a thing called the double slit experiment. And, if you throw a baseball, you can infer, you can't even infer that if you're not looking at it, if you're not measuring it, but don't worry about that. Anyway, point is, it doesn't exist between A and B, an electron. Now, an electron has mass. Mass is all about gravity. Now, the thing about all the other forces in the universe that we know of, the electromagnetic force and the strong and the weak force, they're called, doesn't matter. They're quantized. They follow rules, laws, theories of quantum mechanics. Gravity doesn't. It seems to be smooth. Don't even bother to know what the hell I'm talking about, if you don't already know. And gravity seems to be smooth, but everything else seems to be quantum, jumpy. Gravity seems to be smooth. Space seems to be smooth. Time seems to be smooth. As far as I know, they're the three things that seem to be smooth. Everything else in the world is quantum. And the great challenge, people passing, the great challenge of physics is what a lot of people are trying to do is to discover, assuming that it is, that gravity is actually quantized, but we just don't know it yet, Or my stupid theory that I'm developing in my head is that it is literally smooth. On the basis that electron, for example, and therefore a baseball, thrown from one end of the room to another. Right, that electron, where is it? Now, that electron is creating a gravitational field around it. Okay, where is it? Well, it doesn't exist as such, It's where it is defined by a probability wave. Don't even get into that. a probability formula. You know, it's called the Born rule, after Max Born, physicist, developed that. He may well have been the first person in history to develop a formula for reality. He was Olivia Newton-John's grandfather, as it turns out. Now, he won a Nobel Prize for this, but if the electron doesn't exist in between point A and point B, and it exists at point A and point B for a period of 0 seconds, you know, so to speak, maybe, all right, where is its mass at any time? Its mass, I would say, in my head, is distributed smoothly throughout an entire probability field. And that, given that the connection between space and mass and time, you know, defines gravity, I would say that where the mass is, so to speak, is distributed in a smooth way, according, you know, all around that room, in between A and B, in between the gun and the detector. And not only that, it's distributed even further than that, you know, throughout all of space. And, but, you know, most likely to end up at that detector, but it didn't have to. Just because I pointed at the detector, it didn't have to hit it. You know, it could have landed on, what, Alpha Centauri instead. Well, it gets a bit crazy, you know. But that's what I think. And I think that would, you know, it's almost something, it almost sounds magical, really. But not magical, because the Born rule, you know, the probability of where that electron is, there is some certain sort of certainty to it, because it's got a probability of 1 of being somewhere and everywhere at the same time. It's not a probability of 1/2. There's there's a certain reality to probability. It's just a different type of maths, but it's still very certain in its certain sort of way. Anyway, that's, you know, that will be my thesis that I would put forward. All of that, you know, this little YouTube clip, I'm going to send it off to the Nobel Prize Committee right now, and sit in a coffee shop over here on the other side of the road here in Bridge Road, in a coffee shop, and wait for my Nobel Prize. I believe it comes with $1 million.